What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be doing an oil change on the Delica. It's pretty much the same for most vehicles in the world, so it doesn't matter what you drive, this should help you. So here we are, we've got the oil filter. The one we're using today is a Ryco filter. If you're driving a Mitsubishi Delica with a 2.8 diesel engine, it's a Z372. We're also going to be using this stuff. This is the Magnatec diesel. It's 1540, the grade that we're going to be using in the Delica today. You want something to catch the oil that you're draining out of the vehicle in. So we've just gone down to the local Super Cheap here and we picked up basically an oil catch drum can thing. Just make sure whatever you are catching it in has the right capacity to catch the amount of oil that's going to come out, because it's going to be different for every vehicle. A funnel also comes in quite handy, just for when you're putting the oil back in. It stops you making a mess and pouring oil all over the engine side. And if you're going to do it properly, you should probably get a new washer for your sump plug. Even better, get a new sump plug with your washer. So this one we're using just here is for the Delica. It's got a thread pitch of 1.5 and it's a 14mm. This comes with a steel washer and it's by a company called Trident. So the actual tools that you'll need today are going to be the 17mm spanner. That is the size of the sump plug that is on the Mitsubishi Delica. If you're using obviously a different vehicle, you're going to need a different spanner. The other tool that you shouldn't need, but you might need, is one of these. Now what you would do is wrap this around the oil filter. You can do that to undo the oil filter. Now the reason you shouldn't need it is because an oil filter should always be put on hand tight. But sometimes people don't do that, they absolutely crank on them and they're seized on. So you need one of these just to get them. Something else that you're going to need is this. This is an engine flush. What you do is you put it in just before you start the process of taking the old oil out. You let it run through for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that, whatever it specifies on the bottle. And that just catches all the grime and the sludge that builds up in the engine and deposits it back in the bottom of the sump, so that when you let that old oil out, it all comes out with it. One more thing before I forget to tell you. Get some cardboard or something on the ground to stop the oil just in case it spills. Cardboard's good because it will just absorb it and stop it from running far. But yeah, if you've got anything really, a tarpaulin or whatever you can find, that would be better than nothing. So the first job, we're going to be getting the engine flush and putting it inside the engine. So once you've got that in there and you've got the oil cap back on, you want to go over to the car, start it up for the 10 or 15 minutes, whatever it specifies on your bottle, and then turn it off. Then we can start the process of draining the old oil out. So we're going to need this one just here and whatever it is, socket, spanner that you're using to get the sump plug off, because the next thing we're doing is draining that oil out. So first thing you want to do is come over to the top of the engine here and you want to undo the oil cap, just put it to one side. The reason you're doing that is because when you crack the sump plug off at the bottom and take it out, then you've got air coming into the engine at the top. As the oil exits at the bottom, it's just much easier, it flows a lot faster and your oil comes out much better. So we get this one underneath. So this one you want to get it directly underneath where your oil's coming out. Remember, your oil will come out pretty quick because you've got that top cap off, the oil filler. Now, if you look at some sump plugs, they're usually angled. When the plug is taken off, basically the oil will come out slightly forward and then down, instead of directly down. So make sure that this one is slightly forward if that needs to be the case. Just a pre-warning, because sometimes you get it wrong and oil goes everywhere. Then we're going to crack it off with this one just here. So now we're down here, you've got your sump plug here, and this is your sump. Now the oil is going to be really hot because you've just had the car running. So bear in mind, you may burn yourself on it. If you've got some gloves that you can wear, that would be perfect. It just makes this job a lot safer and a lot easier. So first thing you want to do is take this one off. There we go. You can usually crack it loose pretty easy. And the rest of it, you'll probably be able to do with your hands and your fingers. I'm gonna roll my sleeve up because I know how messy this job can get. In fact, what I'm gonna do is take my glove off because I can take the oil off my hand a lot easier than I can off a glove. And at the very last minute, you should be able to just pull it out the way nice and quickly. He says, if you drop it, good luck getting it back out of the oil. Alright, here we go, you ready? There we go. So there's all that old oil coming out. Lovely. So once you've let all the oil drain out and you're confident that nothing else is going to come out, get some sort of rag or, I don't know, a cloth, and just clean the surface where you're going to be putting your new sump plug and your new washer, just to make sure it's as clean as you can get it. That way it should create a really good seal and stop any leaks from coming through. Okay, now we've cleaned it all off, we're going to take the new washer, the new sump plug, and just get it on there. Just tighten it up so that it's nice and tight. Now, every one of these is going to have a different torque setting depending on your manufacturer's specifications. I'll be honest with you, I usually just do it to the torque setting that I feel is tight by my own arm's feeling. I wouldn't recommend doing that if you're new to it, but if you have a torque wrench, definitely use it. Right, now we've got that oil container filled up, what we're going to do, we need to pull it out and we need to assess to see how much oil is actually in it, because that's how much oil we're going to have to put back in the engine roughly when we start topping it back up. Now, at the moment, you can see on here, it's sitting smack bang on the 7 litre mark. What that tells us is that we're going to need 7 litres roughly before we'll start seeing it on the dipstick when we fill it up. Now, we need to empty this out because unfortunately, I don't have any other containers here that I can go and put the oil filter in. So I'm going to empty this into a separate container and then I'm going to use this again to do the oil filter and then put the oil filter in and let the oil that comes out with it drain into here. And this should be hand tight. So come over here, I'll show you where ours is. So this is where your oil filter housing is. What I'm going to do is take it off. It should just be hand tight. So there we go. This will leak a little bit when you take it off. So be prepared to get oil on yourself. There it goes. So I'm just going to let that leak out. Bear in mind the angle that it's sat on here, it's facing down, so it's going to be full of oil. So just make sure that when you take it out, you keep it upright. There we go, so now it's dripping. The rate of flow is a lot slower coming out of it. So we should be able to just undo it. And there she goes. That's the old oil filter. Easy as that. So now we're going to go and get the new oil filter on there. This rubber ring that goes around here, a little tip, you want to go and get some of the old engine oil and just rub it around that. It just means when you do it up, it doesn't bind on anything and it just is nice and smooth as it goes onto the surface it's supposed to be seating against. Wipe it off your finger. If you've got crappy trousers on, wipe it in yourself, wherever you fancy wiping it. So the next bit, we're going to get it back up where you've just taken the old one off. You want to just keep going until it's pretty tight by hand. And that should be tight enough. You don't want to go any tighter than hand tight. If you do, you run the risk of basically getting it stuck on there and never getting it off again when you need to in the future. So now we've got the new oil filter on, we've got the new sump plug in there with the new sump plug washer. We're pretty much ready to start putting the oil back in. Now I've got the funnel here, which makes the job a hell of a lot easier. And because it is new oil, it means we get a new rag for the engine bay. So the old one has been used up, go in the bin. We get a brand new one, which has only been used for 1 or 2 dirty jobs. Right, let's do this. If you remember, there was about 7 liters of oil that was in the catch can. So we want to make sure that we've got at least 7 liters that goes in, and we should start seeing it on the dipstick around about that level. Now, before you go and dump the whole lot in there, what I would recommend is just poking your head underneath and just making sure that there's no leaks coming out anywhere. That way you know that everything you've done it's gonna be sealed and nothing's gonna be coming out. So you wanna just check every now and again, just make sure that you're not overfilling it. At the moment, we're down to nearly the halfway mark. Because we're putting 7 liters in and this is a 10-liter bottle, we wanna be 3 away from the bottom, and then we know we're roughly where we should be on the dipstick. So because we're only halfway, we're gonna keep going for now. And that is near as bang, nearly on 3. So we're gonna check the dipstick to see if we can see the oil level starting to show on it. So when you're checking the dipstick, what you wanna do is completely clean it. Like that, and you've got 2 marks here. You've got the low mark and the high mark. The dipstick would usually be this way up when it's in the engine. So between here and here on most dipsticks is usually about 1 liter, and you want to be at the high mark when we finish this job. So we're going to put it in and we're going to see where it's measuring on the dipstick. So you want to put it in for 3 seconds and then take it out again. And we can see that it's covering the dipstick nicely. Now the reason it's covering the dipstick is because it hasn't yet filtered into the oil filter. So what we're gonna do, because it's completely filling the dipstick, is we're gonna turn the car on now and let that oil flow around the system. Don't forget when you go to turn the engine on to make sure that your oil filler cap is back in place. So we're gonna start it up. What we're gonna do is we're gonna wait for the engine oil light to go out, and then we're gonna turn it off. Or if it doesn't go out, we're gonna turn it off after about maximum of 10 seconds. So we've got the ignition on now, and you can see next to the AT, there is an oil symbol. And what we wanna do is turn the ignition to the point where we can see that, recognize that symbol, and then we're gonna turn the car on. And we're gonna wait for that to go out. And if it doesn't go out, there we go. That means that it's flowed around the system properly. If it doesn't go out, it means that you haven't got enough oil in for the system, but it should go out. And then we're gonna turn it off and recheck on the dipstick. So you once again take the dipstick out and clean it off, and then we're gonna put it back in. We're gonna leave it in there for 3 seconds, and then take it out again. And we're gonna check the level. So, as you can see, the level is right near that low point. So that means between, remember I said the low point and the high point, there's usually about 1 liter. So we're gonna try and put in about 500 milliliters to try and get it closer to where we want it to be. If it's still not there, we'll add a little bit more as we go. So we've just put that extra 500 ml in. We're just gonna check to see what it's done on the dipstick and see where we've gone. Hey presto, there we are. So we're just about sitting on the high mark now. So we're just gonna start it up for the final time now. It looked like it was correct on a dipstick after we just topped it, but we're gonna start it, turn it off, check it one more time, and just make sure that it's definitely where it needs to be. That way, you know you've got it perfect, and there should be no problems and no issues going forward. So that is done, which is ideal. That means that you're done. You've completed the oil change, the filter change, with a new sump plug and a new washer. Only thing left to do is put your under trays back on, if you have under trays. If you don't have under trays, you're finished. The job is complete. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button, because it always helps and it's nice to see you guys enjoy what we're doing. Remember, we're not professionals, we're just people doing this in our spare time as a way of saving money whilst we're traveling. If you've got any questions, chuck them in the comments, we'd be happy to read them. Thank you very much, and until next time, catch you later. Just wanted to say thank you very much for watching all the way to the end, guys. It means the world to us. We got a video here and a video here that we picked out for you to watch next. And if you want to subscribe, right in the middle here, hit that icon. Thank you very much. Catch you in the next video.